want to talk to you a little bit about staff meetings today and the importance of having them, first of all. And then I want to get into some details about what to expect, what to do in those staff meetings to make sure that they are the absolute very best use of your time possible.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Just got out of my bi-monthly staff meeting, and as I was walking back to my office, I realized I don't know if I've ever really talked about staff meetings here on the podcast. And man, what an important and integral part of what I do as an appraiser business owner. So thought that that's what we would talk about today. So stay tuned. Want to stop here and remind you that we are sponsored by OREP Insurance. OREP, of course, is the E&O that I use on that's my E&O. That's what I use. I've been with them for years now. Happy to be a part of their group. You can go to orep.org to find out more information. That's orep.org. Sponsored, of course, by Alamode Software. Alamode, of course, is the software that I've been using for years and years and years, and will continue to use as long as they continue to give me the great value that they do give me. You can go to alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE for more information. And finally, we are sponsored by DataMaster. DataMaster, of course, is rolling out DataMaster 6. It is amazing, folks. If you've not seen the demo, you need to check them out. Go to datamasterusa.com. One more time. It's datamasterusa.com. Well, folks, I want to talk to you a little bit about staff meetings today and the importance of having them, first of all. And then I want to get into some details about what to expect, what to do in those staff meetings to make sure that they are the absolute very best use of your time possible. First of all, let's talk about staff meetings in general. Principle. You have got to have an open relationship with your open relationship. It's kind of like an open marriage, right? An open relationship of communication within your business. That means that you're frequently and regularly, that means the same thing, talking to your employees, your contractors within your business, that you have an open line of communication with them. And one of the best ways to do that and to encourage that is to have staff meetings. Staff meetings help establish a regular time when you and your employees can get together. Now, I've talked on this podcast before about the importance of having one-on-one interviews on a regular basis, and I am a huge advocate for that, okay? Huge advocate of making sure that you are meeting regularly, privately with your employees, your contractors, to go over their concerns, their questions, make sure that they understand their contract, what's expected of them, what they expect of you, that line of communication is open. That's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about staff meetings where it is you and a group, okay? It's you and whoever works for you. And I know some of you are about ready to turn off the podcast and say, well, Dustin, I don't have any employees, or my employee is just my spouse and he or she only works, part-time for me. Okay, great. Have a staff meeting anyway. I'm dead serious here. I don't care, folks, if you are working alone. That means you have no staff, you have no contractors, you work with nobody but yourself. I'm going to encourage you to have regular staff meetings for two reasons, okay? Number one, and I know some of you are saying, Dustin, how do you have a staff meeting if it's just you? It's possible. And I know you're going to think I'm weird, but I did it before I had employees. Okay. It's called working on your business, not in your business. It's the opportunity to sit down and start to ask yourself some questions, start to go over some things that are going on in your business directly. Okay. So that you have an opportunity to really filter through what's happening and be able to move beyond the status quo onto a higher level. Okay. It's a matter of sitting down on a regular basis, having this calendared in on your agenda, time set aside that you meet with yourself, if that's the case, and you have a staff meeting. Now, you may not call it a staff meeting. Maybe that is a little bit weird, right? But that on a regular basis that you are taking the time to review your business, and finding the holes and fixing those holes and finding ways, better, easier, faster, gooder ways of doing stuff, right? That's what On It, Not In It is all about. Working on your business, not in your business. But today we're talking about staff meetings. So let's talk in general about individuals that have staff, whether it be a part-time individual such as your spouse, your daughter, your son, Aunt Gertrude, whoever the case may be. You don't have a full-fledged staff. And I think a lot of us at that situation, in those situations, will say to ourselves, well, maybe it's not, worthy of me having a staff meeting if I don't have a lot of staff to have the meeting with. Folks, don't make that mistake. Please don't make that mistake. Now, I have two businesses, as you know. I run an appraisal business and I also run a coaching business. With my appraisal business, I have 9 people that work with me. Okay. On my coaching side, I have 1. Lee. That's it. I still have regular staff meetings with Lee, just her and I. In fact, I've got one scheduled tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Right here in my office, okay? And I've got an agenda. That's the next thing I was going to talk about, agendas. Make sure that you have an agenda for your staff meeting. Why? Because, folks, if you want to stay on track and if you truly want to be efficient, and trust me, you do in these meetings, you're going to want to have an agenda. An agenda keeps you on track. Now, it doesn't have to be anything official. You don't have to hand it out around the table. I've done that in the past. And, folks, to be honest with you, I didn't see that it made that big of a difference. Okay. But I'll tell you what is key is that you have written down the notes that you need to follow up on. Where do those notes come from? Well, from a variety of different places. Okay. And we're going to get into that in just a little bit, but backing up for just a moment, the importance of having a staff meeting on a regular basis. Now, again, on the appraisal side, I have 9 people that work for me. Some are contractors, some are employees, some are part-time, some are full-time. Some are full-time plus. They all have a seat at that table when it comes to my staff meetings. And I know some of you are saying, well, Dustin, the IRS doesn't want your contractors coming to your staff meetings. That's a big no-no. Okay, I get it. I understand. Maybe I'm taking a risk there. I don't know. The bottom line is my contractors are an integral part of making sure that my business proceeds in the way that it should. Now, a lot of times the contractors don't show up to the meetings. They're not forced to be there. That's a big difference between, not that I force my employees to be there either, but they're expected to be there, right? Contractors, not so much. You can show up if you'd like. You don't need to show up. But I'll tell you, it sure makes things smoother when we can all get together in a room, either physically or virtually or both, which I'll talk about in just a second, and have a meeting. And the fact that it is scheduled regularly, I think, makes all the difference in the world. Why? Well, because think of what goes on between those meetings. What goes on between those meetings is what comes up in their day-to-day. And if Shawnee is sitting at her desk and something comes up and it's a recurring problem, without a staff meeting, she might just put up with it. She might just ignore it. She might not really care all that much and think, well, hopefully it'll solve itself. But when she knows that there's going to be a staff meeting every 2 weeks, little light bulb clicks on. And when something is a recurring problem, she's going to make a note of it. And this is where notes come in. This is an important key bullet point you're going to want to write down. Make notes, whether you're the business owner or the contractor or the employee. When things come up, make a note of it. Now, some things can't wait till the staff meeting. And this should not circumvent problems that are urgent. When you've got an urgent problem that needs to be taken care of, I hope that employees, you have an open line of communication with your business owner, that you can reach out on a regular basis and ask her or him for help. But those things that are not urgent sometimes get pushed aside and never, ever get taken care of. Folks, I've seen it 1,000 times. As a coach, as a mentor for other appraisers, I have been in your offices and I have seen things that come up over and over and over again. And rather than address them because there's really no agenda to do so, there's no structure to do so, these things don't get taken care of. They get pushed aside. Because what happens, again, put yourself in that situation. Shawnee's sitting at her desk, something comes up, and you know what? It's kind of a problem, but it's kind of not. I can get around it. It's not that big of a deal. Sure, it takes a little bit more time than it would otherwise, but it's really not worthy of picking up the phone and calling my boss about. I'm serious, folks. This happens. Little things get pushed aside because there's no structure to handle them. Well, guess what works really well for structure? Staff meetings. The ability to be able to have that time on a regular basis to reach out. And what happens is when Shawnee is sitting at her desk and something comes up, even if it is minor, again, there's no minor problems in a business, right? Time is money, money is time. And if your employees are spending more time than they should doing a certain task because there's a little thing that just needs to be tweaked, but it's not getting taken care of because there's no structure to take care of it, those little things add up, and they add up into inefficiencies for you, the business owner, and thus more cost, more overhead to take care of these problems would be so much easier. But they don't get even brought up because there's really it's not worthy of a phone call. It's not worthy of an email, and there's no structure to bring it up otherwise. Staff meetings give you that structure. Staff meetings allow your employees to have an outlet. And the difference between ignoring it and pushing it under the carpet and actually addressing it is the fact that they're used to going to staff meetings. And they know they're going to have one in 4 days, so why not jot it down on a little Evernote or a sticky note or however you keep your notes, right? These are things that they write down. Now, this brings me to the next bullet point that I want to share with you, that every agenda should include everyone. One of the things I do in my staff meeting, and we'll go through a typical staff meeting after the break, but one of the things that I do in my staff meeting is I always go what I call round robin. Round robin basically means we start at the person sitting next to me and we go around the table, and every single person has an opportunity to bring up whatever grievances, questions, concerns, suggestions, goals, follow-up that they want. They have that opportunity. And guess what? They take advantage of it because it's a safe place. That's another key thing. Staff meetings need to be a safe place, and you as the business owner control that. You as the business owner set the stage, set the tone, and knock down when those tones go out of whack. I want to pause here and remind you we are sponsored by 3 great companies, a la mode being one of them. A la mode, of course, is the software I've been using for years and years and years. There's a lot of software out there, folks. There's some new software coming out. Okay, here's the deal. As long as a la mode gives me the most bang for my buck, I will keep using it. And right now, they're giving me the most bang for my buck. Folks, if you want the very most efficient software out there, the one that will allow you to be able to do more with less, check them out. Go to alamode.com, or you can pick up the phone and call them. Ask them why they are different. They will tell you. They will talk to you in person. It's 800-ALA-MODE or alamode.com. Speaking of other great companies, and companies will allow you to be more efficient, more effective at what you do. DataMaster is one of those, folks. If you are tired of looking at one screen and typing in the data onto another screen, DataMaster is for you. One button save you 30 to 60 minutes per report, folks. Every single report you do, count that up. How many is that during a month? 30, 40, 50, 60? How many reports do you do a month? DataMaster can save you at least 30 minutes and closer to an hour on every one of those reports. Check them out. Go to datamasterusa.com. One more time, it is datamasterusa.com. Folks, I want to read to you an email that I got from a good friend of mine, Tom Boyce. Tom is a mastermind member down in my Vegas group. Hi, Tom. Thanks for reaching out. He sent me an email that I thought was just awesome. Let me just read it to you. He says, just in case you would like to use this during your podcast, last month I filled out the online paperwork to renew my E&O with OREP. It was quick and easy as I expected, but I was surprised to get a phone call a couple days later to tell me they had found an error in my application and they wanted to send back some money. They didn't want me to wonder why the extra $122 appeared back on my credit card. Wow, how often does that happen? In other words, Tom had made a little bit of a boo-boo in his application, and the good people over at OREP caught it, called him, let him know, and gave him $122 back. Folks, that's the kind of company that you'll be working with OREP. It is orep.org. That's orep.org for your next E&O provider. All right, folks, we are back. We're talking today about staff meetings, mainly because it's on my mind. I had a staff meeting this morning. I've got another one for my other business tomorrow morning. I actually really enjoy staff meetings. It's an opportunity for all of us to get together and really talk about what's happening, what's going well, what our concerns are. Yes, we spend a lot of time on concerns, okay, on questions, on inefficiencies that could be better, okay? That's okay. We also take an opportunity every staff meeting to talk about some positive things that are going on. One of the things that I've been doing for years, and I've slacked off a little bit lately about this, but I think it's an important practice, and that is we would go around when we do round robin. It's not just, hey, tell me your concerns or your questions or anything else. It's also give me something positive. And so something positive, something good, and some kind of question and concern. And everybody should have an opportunity to share. Okay. Now, some people will share more than others. Some people are more involved than others. Some people are more outspoken than others. But the main thing is it needs to be a safe place where everybody can share. And what this will do is foster an environment of people looking out for opportunities to share during the times between staff meetings. So in other words, back to this situation, this hypothetical situation I gave you, Shawnee sitting at her desk and something comes through and it is a recurring problem. Rather than ignore it, she's going to say, oh, you know what? Dustin in 4 days is going to ask me what I have to share. I need something to share. I don't want to say, well, I don't have anything again, Dustin. I'm not really paying attention to what's going on in the business, Dustin. I want to have something to share. And so they look for opportunities, not to look for the negative, but to look for holes in the process that can be plugged. And folks, that is a plus. That is a plus for you, the business owner, to be able to have your employees looking out for the small things, noticing how things can be better. Absolutely key to making sure that these staff meetings will make you more productive and more efficient and make more money in the future. That's really what it's all about, right? Making sure that we are so efficient that we're making more money on a regular basis. Now, this brings me to the other point before I get to a typical staff meeting for you, is making sure that these are efficient meetings. Yes, there needs to be some camaraderie. Yes, there needs to be some communication on a personal level. These cannot be just by the book, strict agenda meetings, okay? There's a reason we get together, and it's more than just what are the concerns and how do we fix them. It's also about building loyalty. It's also about building friendships. It's also about the relationships that we have here at work, okay? But that being said, we also have to remember that every single person in that meeting is being paid by the hour. I don't care if you're salaried. I don't care, what your situation is. You're being paid by the hour for what you do when you really break it down. Now, maybe if you're strict commission, okay, we might be able to give that a pass, right? But for the most part, everybody around that table is being paid at least $10 an hour to be there. Add that up, folks. You spend an hour in a meeting, it gets pretty expensive for you, the business owner. So make sure that you have an agenda. Make sure that you stick with the agenda and make sure that those meetings are efficient. How are they efficient? Well, there's many ways. We've talked about some. One thing that I have not talked about is assignments and follow-up. One of the things that I do is I assign one of the individuals in my office, usually the same person, okay, each time, that they will come prepared to take notes. That's so I don't have to. Now, I run the meetings, okay? There was a time that I had a operations manager, and she ran the meetings for a while. I no longer have that luxury currently, so I run the meetings. That means I start them out. I welcome everybody. I have my agenda. I go through it. If things get off the rails, I push them back on the rails. I don't have time to write down my own to-do list. So what I do is I ask an individual who understands the meeting, been there a while, okay, to take notes for me. And when I am asked a question, hey, Dustin, what about such and such and such? In fact, today, I'll give you an example. One of the questions that came up was, Dustin, it's been a while since we looked at our templates, and I was reading through it the other day, and I think some things might be a little out of date. Maybe we need to take another look at those templates. It's been over a year since we looked at them. And I said, you know what? That's a great idea, Jay. I will do that before the next meeting. Okay. Now, I just committed to something. I wrote nothing down. I guarantee I'm going to forget about it unless there is something written down. And so it is the responsibility of that individual that I had take notes to write down what I committed to do. Okay. We use a process in our staff meetings where people commit to doing certain things. I might ask them, hey, Aaron, would you do that for next meeting? Yes, I will. I don't have to write anything down because my assistant, who was tasked with writing down that assignment, writes it down for me. And then she writes up a little summary, if you will, email after the meeting saying we had a great meeting today. Here are the commitments that were made. She sends that to me for my approval. And then once I approve it, she sends it out to everybody else. So there it is in black and white. And then here's the key, folks. If you want efficient meetings, here's the key. You ready? Follow up, return and report. Next time you sit down for those meetings, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it is later, you sit down and we can go around and whoever took notes can say, no, Dustin, you committed to looking over the templates. How did that go? And now I have to report. I'll tell you what I don't want to do is show up and not have something to report, right? Not a fun situation, especially for the boss. So make sure that you not only write down the commitments, but that you follow up. Because people know you will follow up. And if you commit to do something in a staff meeting, they know for a fact that that's going to come up later on. All right, let's do this. I want to take you through a typical staff meeting, okay? And this is just a hypothetical, though. I'll just tell you what happened this morning. That's what's on my mind. This is how it happened, okay? So we had a set meeting time. It's usually the same time. I had a webinar today, so I had to push it back a half hour, which was fine. No problem. Everybody was fine with that. Everybody received an invite. It's on the calendar. They also have a Zoom meeting invite that's included on the calendar thing as well. Okay. It's scheduled. It's recurring. It happens every 2 weeks. Okay. Are there times that we cancel? Yes. Are there times that I'm traveling and can't do it? Absolutely. But even then, I find that they go pretty well if people meet without me. Okay. And just give me the follow-up. But here's how it works. We spend a few minutes getting to know each other. Again, greeting each other, being friendly with one another. In other words, we may have a meeting at 1:00, but the official meeting time may not happen till 1:10 or so. Why? Because we're all coming into the technology. I have a mixture of both in-person and technology people that meet, and recorded, by the way. So let me just share with you how that works. We have a conference room in the office building that I rent a space in, and it's got a nice big conference table. There's room for 25 people in there. Typically, there's no more than about 3 or 4 that attend in person. Today, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, including myself, in that conference table, around that conference table. So we're physically there. We're greeting each other. We're shaking hands. Hey, how are you doing? Lee came in and said, hey, I got a new car. Come check it out. We went out in the parking lot. We checked it out. I literally carried my laptop out into the parking lot with me so that anyone who was logged in to the Zoom meeting from afar was able to follow and see her new car as well. We want them to be a part of the meeting as possible. Okay. So the next step is you do have an opportunity, if you can't be there in person, to be on the Zoom meeting, meaning the individual that I employ in California, she comes to the meeting on the Zoom meeting. Believe it or not, she does not fly in for the staff meeting, right? The individual that I have working for me in the Philippines, she logs in via Zoom meeting. She's a part of that meeting as well. They keep their side muted unless they have something to say. Otherwise, there's a lot of background noise back and forth. But we put the laptop on the table in front of us. Everybody can see us. We can see them. We have a nice video chat meeting. We also record that meeting for individuals who could not be there. For example, Scott was on inspections far away from the office today and not near good enough internet access. And so he will get the recording. In fact, I'm looking at my screen right now, and that recording is already converting, and I'm going to send him an email when that is done. It's at 78%, by the way. Once it gets to 100%, I'm going to put that in a Dropbox with a link and say, hey, Scott, missed you today. Hope everything went well. Here's the link to your meeting. Check it out. And there's a few things we talked about that are really important for you to hear, and I want your feedback on. Please let me know, okay? That way, every single person in the office, outside the office, across the world in the Philippines, they're all involved in that meeting at one level or another. Okay. And once we start to greet everybody and get settled in and make sure all the technology is working, everybody hear me okay? Everybody see me okay? Great. Let's get started. Okay, here we go. I open up my agenda and I start going down through the agenda. Okay, we start talking about marketing. We start talking about holes in the process. We start talking about issues that we need to bring up, that we need to fix, ideas, thoughts. It is a safe place, and I can't emphasize that enough. It is a safe place to be part of that meeting and basically say whatever you need or want to say so that we can all be involved in solving the problem, whatever that solution might be. Okay. And basically I go through my agenda. We talk about everything that is a concern to me. I give them some kudos. I talk about some good things that are happening. Maybe we've increased in volume. Maybe we've done more non-lender business this month, whatever. Or, hey, Lee, thanks for taking care of that issue last week. Really appreciate that. That really helped us a lot. Thank you very much. And then we go round robin. And by the way, during that agenda process, it is an open line of communication. This is not just me going through my litany of things that I need to bring up. There is a constant process through this process of talking. And you at any point can unmute yourself. You can talk. You can do anything you need to do, okay, during that meeting. If there's something that needs to be said, unmute yourself if you're in the Philippines and say, hey, Dustin, on that, let me share with you what I've got going on, okay? And Giselle does on a regular basis. Thank you, Giselle. It is an open line of communication through our staff meetings, okay? And we talk about the good and we talk about the bad. And then we go round robin and each person has an opportunity to share something good and share something they might be concerned or have questions about. And we go to everybody, whether you be contractor, whether you be employee, whether you be here in Idaho Falls, Idaho, or across the world in the Philippines. You all have an opportunity to share. Now, there's sometimes they don't have much to share. As we went around today, Aaron and Giselle really didn't have much, or the things that they did have were already brought up. We'd already talked about them. No sense in beating them again. Okay, we've already done that. We've already ridden that horse. But everybody has an opportunity, and we go around and we make sure that everybody has an opportunity to share, that we talk through everything. And there are some times that we table items. Okay. There was something that came up today. I can't even now remember what it was. But we were talking, it was the template thing. We were talking in detail about what the template should look like, what it should do. And then I realized about halfway through that conversation that half the people at this meeting couldn't care less about the template because they're not appraisers. They're tier 1, tier 2 folks. They don't care. So I said, you know what? Half the people in this room are probably really bored right now. Let's table this and maybe we'll have an appraiser meeting with just the appraisers. And we'll talk about this issue, but let's let it sit for a couple of days. So that's going to be something that will be in the follow-up on the staff meeting summary that will come up in the email soon. Okay. That's what it's all about. It's not high tech. It's not difficult. It's not so complicated that we don't do it. One of the great things about our staff meetings is that they are structured. Yes. There's an agenda. Yes. Everybody has an opportunity to talk. Yes. But it's very laid back. It's communicative. It's conversational. It is a discussion. It is not something that you would feel insecure about talking through if you were on the opposite side of the table. If you were in that meeting, we want you to be able to have that process taken care of, that you have an opportunity to be involved, that you have an opportunity to be welcomed into that conversation. Appraisers, business owners, whether it is a business of 1 or 20, are you having regular staff meetings? Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it becoming a creative space where you don't just get through your agenda, but you also have an opportunity to talk and collaborate and make sure that everybody has a voice. It will do wonders for your communicative style in the office. It will do wonders for filling those gaps that you definitely have, folks. I promise you have them. Whether you're aware of them or not, you do have them. Take an opportunity on a regular basis to hold staff meetings and make sure that you're doing them in a safe space and on a regular basis so that people participate. It'll change your business. Thank you for joining me today, folks. Speaking of joining me and speaking of Zoom meetings, we have one every single month. It's called the Appraiser Academy. It's the opportunity to you and me and a handful of appraisers across the nation to meet live, interactive, and be able to ask questions about your business. You want to ask about staff meetings? Great place to bring it up. We have a webinar and we have a period of question and answer every single month. we have an opportunity to meet. It is great fun. Hope you'll join me. Go to theappraisercoach.com/memberships and check it out.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
Want to remind you, of course. Sorry, editor, if you can go back.